Security Administration, they have a saying, let's get the right check to the right person at the right time. So we're going to talk about a couple of those things today and how Social Security, unfortunately, is failing a lot of people out there by not providing the right check at the right time. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Ed Weir. I ran the third busiest Social Security office in the country. Now in my semi-retirement, I'm helping everybody make sure you're getting the right check for you and your family at the right time and the right person and the right amount and the right time. So this is also a live Q&A. If you got any questions about your specific situation, make sure you join my live Q&A. I do this every single day almost until my wife tells me I have to take a break. 3 o'clock West Coast time, 6 o'clock East Coast time. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into why there's so many people out there not getting the benefits they're eligible for that they paid for. And then I shouldn't take too long, 5 or 10 minutes, because a lot of it is your specific situation. So I'll get into as many questions as I possibly can. So the number one thing is people forget to check their earnings record. Your Social Security benefit is based on how much you actually paid into Social Security. So let me pull up my handy dandy little chart here. So this is how they calculate your benefits over your high 35 years of earnings. People still think it's your last 3, your last 5, or last 10 or whatever. No, that's not it. Your high 35 years of earnings. So Social Security looks at that high 35 and they index those for a wage index. You know, you made $20,000 when 1980, that's might be worth like $80,000 today. So they take that $80,000 month, that amount, and another 34 years, and they add all those up. They divide it by 420 months. That's how many months is in 35 years. And they come up with what's called an AMI, averaged indexed monthly earnings. So they say, okay, over your 35 years of earnings, your high 35 years of earnings, your average earnings was $2,000, let's say. Okay. And then they do this math to make your check more progressive. Lower people that earn less throughout their life get a higher replacement rate. People that made a lot more money over their life get a lower replacement rate. So if your average earnings throughout your life was, let's say, $1,000 a month, you would probably get about 90% replacement. So you'd get about $900. If your average earnings throughout your life was $10,000, you ain't getting $9,000. You ain't getting no 90% replacement rate like that person that made $1,000. Yeah, sorry. You get about a 35% replacement rate. So your check is going to be about $3,500. So it's been progressive. It's been progressive since day one for 97% of us, except for those people that now are beneficiaries of the Social Security, that Fairness Act that was passed was about a year and a half ago now. Yeah, they get extra than everybody else, but that I'm not going to go into that one. Okay, so that's how they make it. They calculate it by those bin points, and that's how they make the calculation. So that's how your benefits are calculated, and the key is it depends on your earnings, those high 35 years. And if your earnings record is incorrect, you're not getting the correct benefit amount for the rest of your life. And what happens is people don't check their earnings record. And people that finally check their earnings record once they get ready to retire or something, or they, get injured or have to file for disability, and then they say, oh, wait a second here, how come my check is so low? And they go find they look at the earnings record and they say, oh, I worked this year. How come it doesn't show up there? And you might be able to fix it, or you might not be able to. It's too far back. You don't have your tax returns anymore. They're not in what's called a suspense file. I can talk about that if you want. But there's a lot of people out there that aren't getting the benefits they're eligible for because they didn't check their earnings record on a regular basis. That's why in the old days, they used to send out that earnings statement every year. So you could check it. So you could say, oh, okay, here it is. If I become disabled, here's how much I get to get. If I, retire at 62, here's how much I'll get. 65, here's how much I'll get. And it has listed all your earnings. So you could check to make sure they were correct. Now they don't do that anymore, unfortunately, for the most part. And so a lot of people are missing those benefits. Okay, so that's number one. Your earnings record is correct, and therefore your benefit's going to be incorrect forever if you don't fix them. Another, starting on time, all right? The right check at the right time. So we've already talked about the right check. The right time. Some people are just filing benefits not when they're not supposed to. When nobody could tell you when you're supposed to. It's an individual decision when you should start your benefits. There's a whole bunch of variables. Do you need the money? If you need the money, then file for retirement benefits early. Hey, more power to you. You need the money, you need the money. So all that other crap doesn't matter. So if you need the money, but if you're working, earning over your annual earnings limit, then they're going to be holding back $1 for every $2 you go over. And I've got a video question that someone sent in. I'll play here in a little bit. She went down to the local office, wanted to file for benefits, and they said, no, go away. And I could see what they're saying, but it's not right. I'll talk about that when I show the video. So when you want to start your retirement benefits, for instance, do you need the money? Are you earning over the annual earnings limit? Is it your first year? They do the calculation on how much you can make the first year, completely different than any other year. Do you have family waiting for benefits on your record, spouse, children under the age of 18, disabled children? Or do you want to leave some more for your surviving spouse, delayed retirement credits? Is it a tax issue? How healthy are you? What's your genes look like? You got a lot of longevity in your family. There's just tons of questions. People aren't evaluating all the questions and checking their particular situation. They listen to someone on YouTube and the person says, hey, you're dumb if you don't start your benefits at 62, or you're dumb if you don't start your benefits at 67 or 70 or something. So those videos are, in my estimation, yeah, it might be good for those people making those videos, but it may or may not be good for you. But nobody should tell you whether, without asking a whole bunch of questions. They shouldn't say anything about when you're going to start your benefits. It's all an individual situation. It depends on your particular situation. All right. So, and one of the other things, probably the biggest one is, and the main reason I do this live Q&A on a regular basis is because people aren't getting that. They filed for the wrong benefit. They're not getting the check, the type of check, the benefit type of check that they're supposed to. They filed for retirement benefits, but they should have filed for disability benefits, or they should have filed for retirement and disability, or they should have filed for surviving spouse benefits and not retirement benefits. They should have filed for disabled widow benefits. They should have filed for independently entitled divorce spouse benefits. There's just so much out there that people just don't know. They think Social Security is retirement and Social Security cards, and they don't understand the DWB, IEDS, the rib limb, delayed surviving spouse, the WIB rib, and there's just so much information. So that's why I've got over 2,000 videos out there on YouTube and in other formats going over there. And all right, so let's get into some questions. Let me show that live question, that recorded question that someone sent in. And this is, yeah, she was told to kind of go away. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Hello, I am one of your subscribers. I just want to say thank you for all that you do, your team does, and for all the information that you continue to share with us. My question is,
Thank you.
I will be turning 62 within a couple of months. I have received a recent statement from the Social Security Administration. I have paid well into the fund on my benefits, so I do qualify for benefits. However, I make well over the max amount of money allowable. But I want to take your advice and schedule an appointment with Social Security anyway. And actually, I was rejected. The Social Security person that I spoke with refused to take an appointment from me. They said because I make too much money, and if I am continuing to work, that my benefits would be suspended anyway. So it's not worth me coming into the office. So I am confused. What should I do? I tried to make an appointment. I was told they would not even see me because I make too much money. What do I do? So I hope you can help me move forward or not. I do have to work probably for another couple of years before I could cut back. But I understand the state of the trust, so I just want to know what to do. So I look forward to your help and your advice, and thanks again.
Oh, okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so yeah, Social Security in that situation should never send somebody back. If you want to file for benefits, doesn't matter. You file for benefits, and that's a little side story here. This is you see lawyers all the time talk about, oh, if you file for Social Security benefits, this large percentage of people are denied. That's because Social Security employees have to take applications. If you want to file, then that's it. We're going to take the application. And this and the situation on disability is, for disability, I'll get to her question here a little bit, but I want to explain, that Social Security employees have to take the claim. Disability, you have to be disabled for 12 months or longer. And and as probably other Social Security employees out there, have had people coming in file for disability that are pregnant. And in every state except for maybe Florida, pregnancies don't last 12 months or longer. So people come in and we say, what's your disability? I'm pregnant. Yeah, that's not 12 months or longer. I don't care. I want to file. Okay, we'll have to take the application. And we'll deny it, because you're not, but we'll take the application. So that gives you an idea that Social Security employees are not there to, debate with you whether you should file or not on that. If you want to, they have to take the application. And I don't know why the person sent you away. So it really, if you want to go in there with the new state of Social Security that you can't walk in anymore and all that, if you want to go to a local Social Security office because you want to find out, whether you're ready and double check your benefit amount, if you do start, check, double check your earnings record and stuff like that, then like I just talked about, then you have every right to go, and that is your office. All those decades you paid into FICA, paid into Social Security, that 6.2%, and your employer paid the other 6.2%, most of that money, 99% of that money went to, take care of your retirement and disability, survivor benefits, or whatever. But about less than 1% went to those offices, to staff those offices to help you out. Unfortunately, Congress is refusing to give those resources to Social Security, so that's why we're in this situation. But anyway, that's what you paid for, is customer service, is to go in there. And if you wanted to go in there and ask a bunch of questions, then you have every right to. In terms of your application, it sounds like possibly they're right in the sense of, yeah, we could go ahead and take your application, but because you're working, we're going to put you in suspense. But if that's what you want, because you're going to be way over the $24,480 this year, you're going to be way over, so you're not going to get any checks this year or next year. If that's what you want to do, more power to you. That's your right to go in, file, get your benefits started, and they immediately put it in suspense, and sounds like for the next 2 years you won't get a check. But if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. It won't reduce your benefit because that's readjusted once you do unsuspend. So it's called the ARF, adjustment of the reduction factor, and the fact that if your benefits are suspended, they kind of make up for those months later, so you're not really losing anything. But maybe you're not going to have every single check withheld. Maybe you're going to have 10 checks withheld, and you're going to get 2 checks because you didn't make way over, but you made enough to stop 10 checks or 5 checks or 6 checks, but the other ones are going to be released. And if you want that 1 check a year or 2 checks a year, that is 100% your right to do that. So they shouldn't tell you that, that's unsatisfactory. As we used to say in the Marine Corps, that's unsat. We found our wage records were in error, missing year and tens of thousands not represented correctly. Meeting with Social Security this Wednesday. Oh, awesome. There we go. Rodney, way to go. That's exactly what you have to do. All right, so let me prepare you there. So do you have we found our wage records. Okay. Oh, you found your wage records were in error, but do you actually have your W-2s and your tax returns and stuff from those years? If you do, take them down there. They'll play a little statute of limitations, 3 years, 3 months, 15 days. But here's hopefully what happened is someone mistyped your social security number. You, your tax person, the IRS, social security, whatever. And for those years, your earnings got to social security, but they didn't match your social security number. So they're in what's called a suspense file. There's billions of dollars in a suspense file. A lot of it comes from people that are in this country not working, that are not supposed to be working here. And they pay into the system, and guess what? That's a donation. Thank you for working illegally in this country. You contributed to Social Security and the trust fund, and you're never getting that money back because you're not in the country legally. So, but in your case, the suspense file, hopefully your earnings are in that suspense file. So you just tell the employee, says, hey, did you check the suspense file? You needed to do a 2.8 and check the suspense file. They'll freak out if you say it that way. And basically what it is, they will, if you worked, let's say, for some place in 1982, and it shows 0 earnings for that year. So that means there's a gap there. But if you worked for that same company like a year before, a year after, then the Social Security has that company's EIN, the employer identification number. So you just say, hey, my 1982 earnings are incorrect. There's a gap there. I work for the same company the year before, the year after. So check in the suspense file for the EIN, for that EIN, that employer identification number for 1982, my earnings. And they will look in there for that employer identification number for that employer, and they'll say, oh, yeah, Rodney, here's earnings right here, but your social security number is 12, and this is 21. That's why it's been sitting there in suspense file for years and years and years. Okay, let's go ahead and grab it. And there's no limitation on time for that one. If it's there, it's there. And they can, kind of verify, oh yeah, that's your name, and here's the mistake. And they just grab it out of the suspense file, stick it in your earnings record. And if you're already receiving benefits, the great thing is if you're already receiving benefits, let's say you've been receiving benefits for 5 years. And then all of a sudden you find out that your earnings record is correct. You go back there and fix it. And the fix is, 10 years ago, and that increases your benefit by $50 a month. They will pay you that $50 a month for the last 5 years because your earnings record should have always included that extra money in there. So they will back pay you, obviously, the COLA and, all that stuff, but take that into consideration. So yeah, Rodney, let us know how it goes. And if they were able to find it, and if they were able to put it in your earnings record and increase your benefit amount, let us know. Anita, I get widow benefits and SSI, I believe. They won't give me my disability because they said I didn't work 5+ years before they approved me for disability. This I don't understand. I get less than $1,000. Okay, so if you get less than $1,000, do you happen to get $994? If you get $994, then yeah, you're on SSI, Supplemental Security Income. But you also could be on widow's benefits. That's what I was talking about people not getting the right check, is you're getting essentially possibly 2 checks. You're getting benefits from your deceased spouse's record for however much, it's probably going to be under $994. And then you're receiving a top off. They're adding another check on top of that to equal $994. And that second top part comes from SSI, Supplemental Security Income. So, but what they're saying is for disability benefits, you have to be insured twice. That you had to actually pay into Social Security to be eligible for disability benefits on your own record. And then you also have to be what's called currently insured. And that's where that 5-year thing comes in. You had to pay into Social Security 5 out of the last 10 years before you became disabled. And there's a weird calculation how they do all that. And you just let them, it's called the DLI, date last insured. So the calculations on that, it's done by the computer. I've never seen those to be wrong. But the issue is because you had to pay 5 out of the last 10 years, it's kind of like, I compare it it's not the same comparison, but like car insurance, that if you had some company, you had your car insurance 5 years ago, and then you switch to another company and you have an accident, you can't go back to that previous company. And it's like, hey, you're not, you don't pay us. We're not your car, we're not your car insurance anymore. It's kind of the same thing with this disability. Congress said if, you could be insured for retirement, disability, and everything, but you're not currently insured. 5 out of the last 10 years, you didn't work. And so they said, you're saying I became disabled and I can't work because of my disability. And Social Security, the way Congress wrote this, it says, well, you really haven't been working, over 5 out of the last 10 years. And it's not the last 5 years or the first 5 years. You could work, they look at the entire 10-year span before you allege your disability. So what on that is, one thing they do miss is the date last insured and the AOD, the DLI and the AOD. So the AOD is your alleged onset date. That's when you're saying you became disabled. And that alleged onset date, that the date that they determine you are disabled, has to be before the DLI. And that's the key. So if your date last insured, that 5 of the last 10 years is March 1st, that's the last day you're insured, and you say you became disabled on March 2nd, then yeah, they're going to deny you. But if you say you became disabled on, February 28th, then you're good. So yeah, it's a weird thing. So you just have to make sure, whether you told them correctly, that, maybe you told them the wrong date, because the DLI is set in stone. It's based on how much you paid into Social Security. Well, it's not really set in stone, because same thing as what I talked about in the first part. Make sure your earnings record is correct, because I've seen people that were denied for disabilities because of this. And it turns out the reason why is because Social Security didn't have a year of earnings. So they say, yeah, you didn't work 5 out of the last 10 years. And the person looks at their earnings record. But wait a sec. Look, I worked that year. I'll go home and get my W-2s and I'll show you. And then plug it in, and yeah, guess what? Now you're insured. So check your earnings record, make sure it's correct, and your date of disability, when you became disabled. So, all right. What do you think why do you think I'm getting extra help now? It'll start April. So extra money in my check, I won't be paying $202.90. Well, extra help, when you say extra help, that's also called the LIS, low income subsidy, the extra help with your Medicare prescription drugs. I think you're talking about that. That's what it's called, extra help. No, it's what you're talking about. So extra money in my check, I won't be paying the $202. That's a different program. That's called MSP, the Medicare Savings Program. All right, so many people out there that they're eligible for these benefits and they're not getting them. And we need to go out there and, we need to go out there and help people get these. All right, so the LIS, the extra help with prescription drugs, same thing. It, as the name implies, extra help with your prescription drug, and it doesn't cut your Medicare Part B check. It doesn't reduce that. It just helps you pay for prescription drugs, and it's one of the easiest applications in Social Security. I've taken hundreds of thousands of them when I worked at Social Security. It's pretty much a form that we scan in. So, and yeah, so it helps you with your prescription drugs. So if you know anybody out there struggling on Medicare, struggling to pay their prescription drugs, please, please, please tell them to call up Social Security, apply for the extra help with your Medicare prescription drugs, also called LIS, low income subsidy. So, and then the name implies in there, low income subsidy. So it's a subsidy, it's a low income type of situation. Okay. The second part of your question, you're asking about the MSP, Medicare Savings Program. And that, if you're eligible for that, then yes, you don't have to pay the $202.90, the Medicare Part B premium. And here's what a lot of people out there. So if you know anybody struggling, just might be able to put a couple of $100 more into their pocket. So here's what it is. You apply for Medicaid through your state, whatever they call Medicaid in your state, Medi-Cal, Access, Denali Care, whatever they call it. If you're approved at the higher levels, there's different levels of Medicaid. And right now they're trying to kick people off Medicaid, reduce your levels of Medicaid, reduce the doctors, reduce the help, because the one big beautiful bill cut hundreds of billions of dollars, close to $1 trillion out of the Medicaid budget. And because, the rich and powerful needed more tax breaks. And hey, that's where our priorities are. So a lot of people are losing their Medicaid, even if they're 100% eligible, because states are losing all that money. And so they're trying alternative methods to kick people off, but we're keeping an eye on them. So make sure you subscribe, and we're going to watch out for that. But anyway, if you are approved, you or someone you know having a hard time paying that $202.90 a month, tell them applied for Medicaid. And if they're approved for the higher levels, called QMB, Slim B, QI, then that's part of the Medicare savings program. And the state will pay, actually it comes from federal money, but the state will pay that $202.90, your Medicare Part B premium. And that's a beautiful thing. That puts $200 back in your pocket. And if you get that one, then the extra help with prescription drugs is automatic. And you might be eligible for one of those Medicare Advantage dual eligible plans. You can't get a Medicare supplement plan if you're on Medicaid, but you can get the Medicare Advantage dual eligible plans. And some of those have those grocery cards, those that you hear about. They do exist. They're advertised in a super scammy way a lot of times, but they do exist. Depends whether one exists in your particular area. So you can reach out to our friends at Chapter and they can help you out, see if one exists. So you might get, an extra $100, $200 a month on this grocery card. So yeah, you could save money on prescription drugs. You get your $202.90 paid for. You might get one of those grocery cards for a couple of $100 or $100 or whatever. So opening that up, it's called stacking benefits. Just, you get this and you get this other thing. Make sure you get this other thing. People miss pieces of the puzzle all the time, but it sounds like you're getting the extra helps and you're getting the 202.90. So the only other thing is possibly I'd reach out to Chapter and see whether they can, whether there's one of those dual eligible. What they mean by dual eligible is dual. You're getting Medicare and Medicaid. You can get both. Millions and millions of people get both Medicare and Medicaid. So, all right, let's see. Dr. Ed, I've been on SSDI since 2011. If they make me go back to, how would I do that? So you're on disability and you're worried about the CDR, the continuing disability review. Don't stop stressing yourself out. My philosophy, if you're new to my channel, my philosophy on those is FCF. Old Marines out there, not FTC. Let's see if anybody, the former Marine out there, knows what FTC is. That's not what I said. I said FCF for CDRs. Forget about it. Don't stress out over it. Don't stop stressing. Because even if your CDR is due next month, your rotation is up next month and you're supposed to get one, you might not get one because it's a congressional budget issue. If Congress doesn't have money for those, they don't give the offices money, so they don't do them. So stop freaking out about it. If you get the package, complete it, copy and complete it. 2 C's, but FCS. But anyway, and then send it in and forget about it again. Because even if the office sent you one, they might not use it, because if they had an allocation to only do 100 that month, they usually send out 200 just to make sure they fulfill their allocation. But if your package is number 101 and they've already fulfilled their allocation, they're not going to use it. Yeah, and they're not going to usually hold it over for the next month and stuff, because then the material, then your information is older, and so so forget about it. Yeah, Social Security does a really good job freaking people out about it, but don't. And we're coming up with a program to help people on CDRs navigate all that. So soon. My husband passed away at 61. He was on Social Security disability. I was 43 at the time and on SSI. When I turned 50, they switched me to widow's benefits. So because we were both under the age required, I'm 68 now. Yeah, so now you're on just regular surviving spouse benefits. So you were eligible for what's called DWIB, Disabled Widows Benefits. So disability benefits on a deceased spouse's record. And you can get that between the age of 50 and 59. So you're getting 71.5% of his benefit amount because you started those early. And you'll continue to get that. And now it's not DWIB anymore. It's not disabled widows benefits anymore. Now it's just regular surviving spouse benefits. So you've got no more limitations, no more. You definitely don't have to worry about CDRs. You don't have to worry about being kicked off of disability because you were kicked off of disability a year ago. When you reached your full retirement age, they switched you from disability benefits to regular Social Security retirement benefits, surviving spouse benefits, same thing. So you're good. No more, don't have to worry about being kicked off. There's no more work limitations, no more trial work periods and EPEs and IRWEs and UWAs and none of that garbage anymore. You can do whatever you want. And because you're receiving surviving spouse benefits and you're past 60, if you get remarried, Social Security disregards it. So if you're receiving surviving spouse benefits, you can remarry after 60 and it's not an issue. So, Dorothy, when I'm able to get divorce benefits off my ex-husband when I turn 62 in 24 months, my daughter gets money off my ex-husband. She's disabled. Does her money go down when I get divorce benefits? No. It sounds like it's a different, no. There are some situations, but in your situation, you only got 2 people on the record and probably living separately, divorce spouse, so it won't affect it. So, and because you said divorce spouse, yeah, divorce spouse, it doesn't affect it. Amazing work you're doing, Ed, and thank you for your service as well. I'm also a war vet. Can you explain this new bank system for a direct deposit? I believe it's a card. Yeah, thank you, Wayne. I appreciate it. So are we talking about Direct Express? Yeah, that's been around for a while for people that, what is Social Security? What was the unbanked? That they are not able to open up a bank account for whatever reason, and Social Security hates sending out paper checks. So they set up with this company called Direct Express, and you can set up with it, and it's like a debit card type thing. Social Security puts their money in that Direct Express. And I've never been a fan of Direct Express. Their customer service, at least when I tried to deal with them when I worked at Social Security, was never great. And if you're able to get a regular old bank account, try to get a regular bank account rather than getting through a debit card or something like that. Go to your local bank and say, hey, I know y'all don't like me because I did this in the past, whatever. Water under the bridge. Now I'm getting a federal government check and it comes every month, and I just want that. I don't want extra credit or anything like that. I just want to be able to have my direct deposit from the federal government in this. And sometimes they'll make it, they'll give you a bank account. So let me see. I get widow's benefits and SSI, I think. They said I can't get my disability because, okay, I already answered that one. Do you have to pay taxes on SSI? If you're on SSI, then no, you better not be paying taxes. SSI, I want to be clear. People say, no, I get Social Security and I'm paying taxes. Ed's wrong. This question asked about SSI, Supplemental Security Income, the welfare-based program. The max you can get on SSI is $994. If all you're receiving is $994, yeah, the IRS, you're way under the threshold. So again, I'm not a tax person, but I'm just saying, if all you're receiving is $994, if you're receiving anything other than that, a bunch of money coming in from whatever, then you shouldn't be receiving SSI. So yeah, because it is a welfare-based program. But if you got any questions, take Pink Owl Pink's suggestion, and there is a voluntary tax assistance program. So you are spot on, Pink Owl Pink. Right on. You put the question, you put that right in the perfect place. Just SSI disabled. Okay. Oh yeah, Pink, for SSI, supplemental security income. Again, the purpose of this channel is to help you and your immediate family, but it's also to go out there and help as many other people as you possibly can. So don't be, self-centered, narcissistic. That's my job. Go out there, you think about yourself, take care of you and your immediate family, make sure you're getting all the benefits and everything you're eligible for, then go out there and, look out for other people. We get people that come in here live Q&A all the time and says, well, this didn't help me at all. You're useless. It's like, okay, no, you're useless because it didn't help you. That's great. You did the right thing. Perfect. Awesome. More power to you. Great. You did everything right. But could you use some of this information and help other people? So, and here's an example of that. SSI, supplemental security income. Thank you, Pink Owl. SSI, supplemental security income, you can get it based on two things. You're disabled or you're aged. Aged means for Social Security 65 and older. And for either of those, you have to have low income, low resources. For a single, $2,000 in resources, married, $3,000. So, so if you know someone that's 65, 75, 85, 95, and is struggling to get by, please tell them to apply for SSI. Even if they get $1 from SSI, there's a whole bunch of different programs that open up. So you're like, no, I don't want to do that. It's only $1. Yeah, but then you'll get this and you'll get this because you get that. Because you got that, you'll get this and this and this. So that buck turns into hundreds of dollars. So go out there. People miss those pieces of the puzzle. All right, let's get another video question here.
Yes, hello. Well, first of all, thank you so much for providing the necessary information to all of us because it's just, when you become disabled, it's just mind-boggling why they make it so difficult for us working class that earn this money for all these years. Well, my question is, I turned 66 this year, 2026. I have been approved for disability SSDI since 2024. And I received my first check, I believe it was in January 2025, with the letter. The letter indicated that I was approved, but it didn't say anything about the CDR. I would like to know if it's even possible for them not to indicate the date or the time frame. I would really appreciate if you could give me some guidance. Thank you.
All right, same thing I just talked about a little bit ago about, the CDR, and particularly if you're 66 years old, the continuing disability review, and you just started 2025. So if you have a really severe disability, then your CDR isn't per 3, 5, 7 years. So since you're going to be you said you're 66, so next year you're going to lose your disability benefits. 100% guaranteed. You're going to lose your disability benefits next year. And it's a beautiful thing, because how you're going to lose it is they're going to switch you from disability benefits to retirement benefits. So yeah, you're on the cusp of losing your disability benefits because you're going to retirement benefits, and most people don't even know the switch. You're going to get the same check. It's still going to continue. You're still going to have your Medicare. It's just that you're not going to have any CDRs. They can't kick you off disability because that's what they're going to do. They just stop taking your money out of the Social Security Disability Trust Fund and start taking out of the Social Security Retirement Trust Fund. So, but most people don't even know. So no CDRs. You don't have to worry about CDRs, and no earnings limitations or anything. You're on regular retirement benefits. And for your particular situation, you can call them up if you have a really minor disability that just squeaked by. Then you might get a CDR, but probably not. I don't think I don't think your local office is going to be desperate enough to send someone a CDR package and that's 66 years old. And it's like, they spend 3 or 6 to 9 months doing the disability review, and they say, oh, okay, all right, we're gonna, looks like we already did it. We're gonna go ahead and cut you off. And they're like, gotcha. I'm already off. I'm on retirement benefits now. So they're not gonna waste their time. So 99% chance they're not going to waste their time. But crazy stuff has happened before. Kay from Texas. Can you apply for disability in retirement? Absolutely, you can. You're not going to get both, but a lot of people do that. Let's say if you're 62, 63 years old and you want to go ahead and you're no longer able to work because of your disability, you want to file for disability benefits, but you know that it's going to take 6 to 9 months at the minimum in most cases to get your decision on your disability. And you need money to live. So that's why people file for retirement benefits and start getting that check while they're waiting for their disability to be approved. It's called a RIB-DIB. Yep, a lot of people do that. So if you do that, you'll get your retirement benefits, and then if you're approved for disability, they'll just switch it to disability benefits. It stays the same, depends when they determine you became eligible for disability.
Mr. Ed, my name is Frankie here in Florida, and my full retirement age is September this year. I'm really thinking about going next month in April the 2nd. My birthday is November 2nd. But my question is, if I do decide to go or file for my benefit on this next month in April, would they retroact me those 4 months, or would I have to go all the way through the month of April in order for them to be included in the other 3 months? I'm still planning on working. I understand that I can't make no more than $65,160 between January and September. That's no problem for me. But I guess my major question is, I'm wondering about being retroactive. When can I go or file for my benefits and get those 4 months? Can I do it on the 2nd, or do I have to go all the way through the month of April in order for it to be, retroactive if I decide to go on or file for my benefits in April? And this would be my question.
Okay, yeah, and then he also did another short video where he says, "Oh yeah, by the way, I did contact Social Security a few months ago." So okay, so he's got what's called a protective filing. All right, Frankie, thanks for sending that second video and filling me on that part. So if you have a protective filing, so you called. So what you want to do is you want to start your benefits in January, it sounds like. So if you called in January or any time before January, you have what's called a protective filing. If Social Security didn't close out that protective filing where they said, hey, you called us and you said you wanted to file, and so, yeah, go for it. You have 6 months to go ahead and do it. If you don't do it within the 6 months, yada, 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 then we're going to close it out. But you should be good on all that. So if you have that and you say, yeah, I contacted y'all a few months ago, I really should have filed at that time, so I'm going to go ahead and do it now, but I want to pretend like I filed in January. So they'll say, yeah, okay, no problem. You're protected back to January. We're going to go ahead and start your benefits in January. And what he's talking about in terms of the annual earnings limit, people say, no, you can't make that much. Yeah, you can. He knows exactly what he's talking about, because his full retirement age is this year. So because his full retirement age is this year, he's allowed to earn up to $65,160 from January until the month before he starts his benefit, until actually full retirement age. Well, actually, once he hits full retirement age, he can make $1 billion a month. So if he starts as long as he stays under $65,160, I think he said his full retirement age is in September or October. Let's say it's October. So from January till September, he can make $65,160. If he goes over that, then Social Security holds back $1 for every $2 you go over. But doesn't sound like he's going to be over that. So yeah, he can start his benefits this year, and he's protected. Sounds like going back a few months. So when you have your appointment with Social Security in April, tell them, says, hey, yeah, I want my benefits to start in January. And with the understanding, that every month you take your benefits early, it's reduced by 1 month before your full retirement age. So if you start your benefits in January of this year, it is going to be reduced by, 4 months. But you also get that check. So if your benefit amount is reduced by, $5 a month or $10 a month because you took it early, that's a $20 reduction, let's say. But then you get those 4 checks. And if your check is $2,000 a month, there's $8,000 and you're, okay, I get $8,000 ahead of the game. And sure, it's reduced for $20 for the rest of my life. And so you make that decision. Nobody can tell you that part of it. So Mariposa. I would like to know, I'm disabled for years. I'm 59, was 36 years old, 36 years of married, but I divorced 2021, just went through the 2026. He is 62 when I had to count 2 years, 21, 26. Oh, okay. So the 2 years. So that immediately is a clue that you're talking about the independently entitled divorced spouse benefit. So he is 62 years old. He hasn't filed for benefits yet. Doesn't matter because you were married to him for 10 years or longer. And you have to be, the final divorce has to be 2 years. So if you file this year, this month in 2024, February 2024, the final divorce had to happen. So you had to be divorced for 2 years to get the independently entitled divorce spouse benefit. And the independently entitled divorce spouse benefit sounds like Mariposa knows what she's talking about, is that your ex hasn't started benefits yet. They just have to be at least 62. Doesn't matter whether they started benefits. So many people out there are losing money because they think, oh, my ex hasn't filed yet, so I can't file until they file. No, incorrect. As long as they're 62 years old, at least 62, you can file. That's where the independently entitled thing comes in. So, and remember, just because you're on disability, that doesn't matter. Another thing people mess up on is they think, well, I'm receiving disability benefits, and if I switch over to whatever, then I'll lose my disability, and that's fine. I'll get more money, but I'll also lose my Medicare. That is incorrect because you'll continue to get your disability benefits. You'll just get that extra money topped off there. And so because you're going to continue to receive your disability benefits, you're also going to continue to receive your Medicare. So, and remember, we've got another, 14, 15 days until the end of the open enrollment period. So this is the last time for most people to double check their Medicare Advantage plan. You won't have another opportunity until October. So if you forgot to check your plan in, last October, November, December, or if you're not sure whether you picked the right plan or if there was something better out there or your situation changed, you got a new doctor, you might have some new issues this year, you've got a couple more weeks to check it. So reach out to Chapter, make sure you're prepared there. Have your list, your providers, your prescription, the pharmacy that you want to keep, your priorities. Make sure you check the prices and make sure you're persistent throughout the year. Chapter will help you with that. If you get denied for whatever reason, you have issues, need to find another doctor, reach out to Chapter and they help you out. So, all right, let's see here. If I have land in Texas, that is my primary residence, does that count as a source of income if I'm here in California for a short term? It depends what type of benefits you're receiving. Well, you're probably not receiving SSI, supplemental security income, because you have liquid assets. So I'm going to assume this is not SSI. And because it's not SSI, no, doesn't matter. So doesn't matter. So if you have there is one variable. If you're a realtor and that's your job, to have a bunch of land and houses, and that's your job. So it becomes net income from business. So it really depends on how you and your friends at the IRS, your accountant list it. If that's your business, then that is your business. It's net income from business. And that might affect if you're in early retirement. But if it's just an investment, then nope, doesn't help, or it doesn't hurt at all. Not your Social Security benefit, that is. Husband is retired LEO for last 4 years. He worked 13 and a half years in LE, but city never withheld Social Security and Medicare from paycheck. He worked for 20 years before and paid into Social Security. Can he get SSDI for PTSD? Probably not, because even though he's insured for Social Security disability, he's not currently insured. So he didn't pay into Social Security 5 out of the last 10 years because he worked under non-covered employment through Texas, Chicago, California, wherever, non-covered employment. So, but a lot of people miss this. It just might need to file for MQGE, Medicare Qualified Government Employee. So he probably is not, because if he hasn't paid into Social Security 5 out of the last 10 years, which according to this, he hasn't, he has paid into Medicare because that non-covered employment where he worked, they didn't play with Social Security, but they played with Medicare. They paid into Medicare. So a lot of people miss that. A lot of people miss that. Oh yeah, I work for, I was a teacher, I was a firefighter, I was a police officer, and I didn't pay into Social Security, so I guess I can't get in. I'm now disabled. I can't go down there and get anything from them because I didn't pay into it. You did pay Medicare. And so many people miss that. So many people miss that. So if your husband is approved for the MQGE, then Medicare will start earlier. For almost everybody, it starts at 65. But if you're on disability, it starts after being on disability for 2 years, which is the stupidest thing ever. If you ask me and everybody in my community, it's stupid. If you're on disability, doesn't matter how old you are, you have medical issues, then you need to see your doctor. Why do you have to wait for 2 years to get Medicare? The first month you get your Social Security disability check is the first month you should start your Medicare. But yeah, all right, let me get some new people here that I don't recognize. Thanks, Dr. Ed. You're helping so many people. Thank you. And I know you're going to take that information and help others, right? Please keep up the good work. What would we do without your dedication to helping those of us that need honest understanding of the system? Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's see. I think we've got all the video questions done for today. Let me see if I made some. Okay, someone's, let's see. Someone having audio issues. Let's see. A lot of people talking to each other, which we love. Nice community here, talking to each other, checking in with each other. Everybody misses Bella. Wonder where she went after her brother passed away. Turned 62 November 2024, but want to start Social Security in February. When do I call to start it? So, okay, you turned 62 in November, but you want to start in February. Next February, yeah, you just call Social Security about 3 months before. But remember, in the meantime, check your earnings record. Please check your earnings record. Make sure you get the benefits you're eligible for there, you paid into. Got a question here. I'm 53, government worker. I can retire 2030, but I will be 57. What a good time to retire. Yeah, really depends on your particular situation. But yeah, so you're going to be taking early retirement, and you're going to get probably that. If you're a federal, you're going to get that first supplement and stuff. But anyway, I'm on Social Security disability, and that's what I was told. Then I can't get Medicare until after 24 consecutive months. Yeah, that is correct. There's a couple exceptions for Lou Gehrig's disease and ESRD, but for most people, 24 months. Is that the stupidest thing ever? We got to change that. Come on. Reach out to your politicians and say, hey, when people get disability, they should get Medicare immediately, not this 2-year waiting BS. So. Yeah, sorry. I'm on SSDI getting Medicare after 24 months. Can I decline it, have insurance, or do I get penalized? Okay, yeah. If you're offered Medicare because you're 65 or because you've been on disability for 2 years and you don't want it, you can't refuse Part A. If it's zero premium, you can't refuse it. If you're receiving Social Security benefits, you're going to get it done, but that's zero premium. So, but Part B, yeah, you can refuse it. But you'll get penalized in the future if you change your mind and decide to sign up with it if you don't have creditable coverage, which means that you have health insurance from current work, yours or your spouse's, and that employer has 20 or more employees. If that's considered creditable coverage. If you don't have that and you refuse it, and then you sign up for it later, you're going to be charged 10% for every 12 months you did not have health insurance from work. Again, yours or your spouse's. So, diagnosed with cancer 2023, filed for disability, was told they are 18 to 24 months behind, but put us first. True. Yeah, if for situations like that, Terry cases, homeless, wounded warriors, there's some different categories of disability claims that are approved immediately. Yeah, I've taken hundreds of thousands of disability claims when I worked at Social Security, and the whole BS you hear about there, everybody's denied the first time, is BS. Stop saying that. I've had people that were approved, that I took the application in the morning and they were approved that day, or walked in the office next day and they're already approved. So, but that's terrible that happens. Why is it terrible? Because they have, terrible disability. I mean, Terry case is a terminal illness that, and, you see accidents, on the highway, if someone gets in a terrible accident and, oh yeah, that person is done for life. Those are slam dunk. So, people that get their disability claim approved almost immediately within a week or so. And I'm like, wow, great. But I know you wish it never would have happened, because that means that's a terrible, you're dealing with serious issues. So it's kind of a bittersweet, yay, Social Security took care of you. Wow, so that's a tough one. Let's see. I'm 62 years old. I'm receiving SSDI. Can I file for Social Security as well? Does it decrease my Social Security if I'm able to receive? My spouse is 70 and getting Social Security. Yeah, if you cancel your disability benefits and you file for regular retirement benefits, yep, it's going to be, your check is going to be reduced by 30%. So nobody does it. Just stay on disability. However, your spouse, hopefully your spouse is already receiving benefits. Don't wait past 70 to receive Social Security benefits, because you're not going to be increasing based on that delay. So you can get spouse benefits if the calculations are correct. So you're currently married. You have to determine whether your benefit amount is less than half of their benefit amount. And don't look at your checks. That's not what Social Security looks at. They look at your PIA and they look at your spouse's PIA, your primary insurance amount. That's the amount you would receive at your full retirement age. So if you don't know that, no problem. Call Social Security, both of you on the phone, and say, hey, what's my PIA? And can I get money off this guy? And they'll pass the phone to your spouse there, and you'll say, what's my PIA? So can either of us get any money off either of us, less than one half? And if there's no money there, then that's it. But because that's how they calculate it at that time, up to 50%, don't take that as there's never, as a living spouse, current spouse, divorced spouse, whatever, it's a 50%, up to 50%. Surviving spouses are up to 100%. I can't tell you how many people are out there that are eligible for more money, and the reason they're not getting it because they called 5 years ago and they were told, oh yeah, no, you're not eligible because the 50% rule. But that person has since passed away and now they're eligible. So I bet you someone can find someone like that. So if you've found someone, my regular viewers, let's take a little poll here. My regular viewers, there's two things about all this. People are not getting the benefits they're eligible for. And have any of you all gone out, and I know there's going to be tons of people, because we see it every day. Have you gone out and helped someone find benefits that they didn't know they had coming? And number two, the other part of this is people are worried about whether they are actually receiving the benefits. So they're stressing, oh, did I do the right thing? Did I do the right thing? And giving that peace of mind is just as good. So they can go on with their life. Oh yeah, I did everything right. I filed for this. And I'm not eligible for that benefit. I checked this other benefit out, and my family and no, we're all locked on. That is awesome too. That means you've got peace of mind, and they don't have to sit there and worry about, did I really get everything that I paid into the system for? Because politicians, or the rich and powerful, they've got an entire army of lawyers and tax accountants, and they go out there and they get every penny they can from, to Scrooge McDuck and, put another $1 billion in these people's pockets. But us, regular Joes and Janes, yeah, we don't have that. But we do, because we've got an entire army corps of people out there that do exactly that. And y'all are awesome like that. So, all right, we're over an hour for today. I'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll pick another topic, and I'll answer a bunch of questions. Y'all take care. Have a beautiful